In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to create an account on Linoit.com, how to set up and use a Canvas, how to set up and use groups, how to use the app that's available for your iPhone, iPad, or Android, and then at the end I'm going to show you examples of Linoit canvases. So now we're going to go to Google Chrome, which is actually the best place to use this website, and we're going to look at how to set up our account. The first thing you'll go to if you want to sign up is you'll go to Sign Up, and all you have to do is select a username, password, enter your email address, and click Sign Up. And I'm going to go ahead and log in to my account. One thing that's very important once you create your login is that you want to go up here to Preferences, and you can change your password here, but you want to go to Notification, and you want to tell it to never send stickies regardless of the settings for each canvas. Otherwise, you might receive an email every time a student posts a sticky, and that will end up being a large amount of emails. Also, instruct your students to do the same thing on their accounts, and you can tell it whether you want a daily email or not. When you want to set up a canvas, I'm going to click here, Create New Canvas, and you get a blank canvas, and you can name it, and I'm just going to call this Linoit Tutorial. You can then select your background. You can upload pictures for the background if you want also. You can set access for your stickies. Okay, and I'm going to click Create a Canvas. Once you're on the canvas, you have several options. You can post stickies, you can upload a picture, you can post videos, and this will allow you to post videos only from YouTube, Vimeo, or Ustream. You can also post a link, you could post an attachment, a document, but the file size is limited to 10 megabytes on the free version of this. So just some examples of how this would work. If I want to post a sticky, you just click on the color sticky that you like, and the dialog box pops up, and you can type whatever message you'd like to type. So I'm just going to type Linoit presentation. And you can adjust the size of the font. You can also adjust the color of the font. You can add an icon, and they have little pictures that you can add. You can also select the color of the sticky. So we're going to post this right here in the middle. If you want to move the sticky, you can click on it and drag it. If you want the sticky to remain where it is, you hover over the center of the top, and a little push pin comes up, and you click the push pin, and it is now stuck there. Now let's say I want to upload a video. I'm going to click here on this little film strip, and I've already copied a link to a YouTube video, and I'm just going to paste that right in here. So now I'm going to post the link in there, and I'm clicking post. So here's the video, and if someone comes along, all they have to do is push play, and the video will play. So if you want to post videos for your students to watch, that's a great way to do that. Also, if you'd like to post a picture, you click here on this icon, and you just choose a file from your computer. And we are going to post a picture. This is a screenshot that I took of another canvas, and it will upload the picture. And then when you post the picture, you can select the size of the picture. Also, you have the option of adding a frame, and a frame will let you insert comments underneath the picture. This is good, like where I use it where my kids are taking observations on a lab. So they take a picture and they can put comments here. And you can see when you post, the comments will show up right below the picture. If you'd like to upload a file, you just click where the little paper clip is here, and you can select the file to upload, and again, you're limited to about 10 megabytes on that. Once you've created a canvas, if you would like to share this canvas and have your students look at it, the easiest way to do it is just to give them the web link. You could email it to them, post it on your website, and as long as they have the link, they can access your canvas and they can actually use your canvas. That is good if you'd like to have every student in your class accessing and using the same canvas. If you would like to have them create their own canvases or work in small groups on canvases, at that point you would need to create groups that the students can work with. So creating groups isn't that difficult. If we go back to the home page, I'll show you how to do that. The first thing before creating a group is you have to have the students create their own logins, first of all. And then you go to My Groups, and you click Create New Group. So here's my group, and I'll just call this group 6th period AP Biology. And you can enter a description of your group. You can choose an icon, which would be a little picture that would show up every time your group is listed, and we'll pick Charles Darwin for that. And you want to select by invitation only. That way only your students can join the group if they've been invited, and that creates security so that only your students are seeing what's been posted. I would advise, if you want to create groups, at least one for every period. And this way when students create work, you actually have it sorted, and you can even grade their work. Once they post a Canvas, you can access their Canvas. You can post stickies on their Canvas with feedback, or I've posted stickies with a grading rubric on projects that they've done. So we create our group. Now you can invite your students. The way that you invite your students is you enter a list of either email addresses or the usernames that they create when they create their login. What I would advise doing, what I did, was I took one day in class and I had all my students get on their computers, create their logins for Linowit, and then I set up a Google Doc with an Excel file that had the roster that I just exported from Pinpoint, and I had each student next to their name enter, I think I had them enter their email address. So once every student does that, you go back into the document, you copy the entire column, you paste it here, and you're done. You type in your name, you can type in a message, you click invite, and then the students will receive an email asking them to join the group, and once they join the group, they're going to show up on the page. So if I go back here to my groups that I already have established, here's my 1st period AP Biology class, and you can see I have all my members listed here, and these are all my students, and you can see their logins. I asked them to standardize their login, last name, first name, just so that I can know who they are when they're working on the page. When you're creating assignments for your students, there's a couple different ways you can do it. Number one, you can have your students create their own Canvases, and when you have your students create their Canvases, they just go to create Canvas like you normally do. Just make sure that when the students create their Canvas, they're doing it within your group and not on their personal account. And when they're creating their Canvas, just note that you get a list of all the Canvases chronologically, and there's really no way to sort them. So you want to have your kids pick a uniform naming system. So for example, I had my students do a Canvas on biome. So they made their biome Canvases, and I just said name it, start with biomes, and then put the biome that you had. And I had them format, I gave them the format, but they created their own Canvases. So to show you an example here of one of my Canvases that a student did, we'll go to this one, to Hot Desert. And what you can see here is the student has all the information that I requested. They have stickies, there's a graph here that they've uploaded, they have pictures, they put their bibliography, and we're on Chrome, so what you notice is the Canvas is very large. If you just zoom out, then you can see more of the Canvas at one time. And then what I did is I went through and I scored using a rubric that I had on Microsoft Excel, and I copied the cells with their scores right here onto a sticky so that they can see the feedback pretty quickly. So you can have your students create their own Canvases. Something else that you can do, I'll go back to the group here, is if you want the students to work off of, say, a standardized Canvases. For example, I had a review that I put together on meiosis. So I created a Canvas and I titled it Meiosis. And I had the basic template here where I wanted them to go through and talk about the number of chromosomes at each stage, and I gave them some instructions of what I wanted them to do with this. So what the students could do in this case is they would go through and they would find the Canvas that I created as their base Canvas, and they would create a copy. And notice if I click copy, I can copy this into 1st period, 3rd, 6th, or 7th. So as a teacher, once I created the initial assignment in 1st period, I can copy it to 3rd or 7th period, so it would be there for those students. The students within your class would copy it the 1st period if they're in the 1st period class, and you click OK. And notice what they can do now is they can go back. It's created a copy. So this is Meiosis 2. This is a copy of the original, but I told my students go back and rename it Meiosis _ and then your name. So what you end up with is a list of these canvases that start with Meiosis followed by the students' names. And then you can go back and you can look at this if you want to grade it, or if you just want to get feedback on what they've learned, you can go back and look. So here's these students put this together, and I can go back and see how well they understood this process. The next thing I want to show you is that you can have, there's an app for the iPhone, iPad, and Android. You could download the app, and this is what it looks like. And when you click on Lino, it brings you to your personal canvases, but then you can click right down here, and that will bring you to your groups. And you can see on the next page I have my 3 groups, my 3 AP Biology classes, and then you can click on a group and it will show you all the canvases within that class. And the great thing about this, 2 things. Number 1, you can monitor the kids as they're working. So I can be walking around the room as the kids are working on their canvases, and I can be scrolling through looking at their canvases, and if I see anything I want to give them feedback on right away, I can do that. The other thing is that students can download this app and they can create canvases from their phone. So what I had my students do with the lab is if they're taking observations in a lab, they can actually take pictures using their phone, and they can upload the pictures directly to their canvas, and they can type comments from their phone, or they can edit it once they get to the canvas. So that's how to use the Linoit app. Now what I'm going to do now is I want to show you some examples of canvases I've used. This is Meiosis. And what I had the students do here, just to help them review, is I had the stages of meiosis, and I had them input the number of chromosomes in each cell at each point, because this is important for them to know. So we can go back and discuss this as a class if we wanted to. I did a review on mitosis, very similar. And this one, what I did was I set it up so that the pictures were out of order. The students can move these pictures around if you don't pin them. So the first thing I did is I had them in order A, B, C, D, E, and the students had to move them around to get them in the correct order and sequence. And then they described what was happening at each stage. So this was a good review. And then I showed you the fast plants where the students were taking observations on their lab, and this is one that's occurred over a long period of time. So what the students are doing, every day that we work on this lab or take observations, they're putting the date, they have a picture, and they put a frame around the picture, and then they put their observations for every day. So this has been very helpful for keeping up with the lab that's going over a long period of time. This is an example of where you might want to use this website where you have one page for the entire class. I've put up lab data here. I have a data table and a graph. And notice I've instructed each group to put a conclusion for the lab. So the instruction said put up a conclusion, and then I had other groups assigned to evaluate the conclusions, and I asked them to be kind and constructive with their feedback. But I have group 4 put a conclusion, and then the group that left feedback left a comment. You left out numerical data. So this allowed students to look at the graph, make a conclusion, and then provide feedback to each other. Another example here, this is a social studies example, but what I did was I posted a video. This was around the time of the presidential election. It's from that time, and of course this wasn't from my class, this was just an example, but I have a video from the presidential debate, and then I asked the students 2 questions once they watch the video, and the students can go through and post their ideas together. You can use this for a class discussion if you want to assign this as homework the night before and then bring this up at the start of class. This could be a good intro to a discussion. Another example, a simple KWL. If you are learning about George Washington and you want to start out, what do you want to know? What do you want to learn? What do you know already? You could set up a KWL for all of your students to address. So those are some examples of how to use Linoit. And if you have any questions at all, feel free to let me know. Send me an email. I'll be glad to work with you on this.